it's such a cool thing that I think every organization should have. But unfortunately, what people ask me is the only way to get people like that is to find people that have like agency and people that want to work and respect that type of environment. Because there are people that they go to work to build relationships and make friends. And that's totally fine. But those people won't work in a remote company, which is why I think, there is no absolute like remote work is the future. And that's the only way companies are going to work. And I think there are going to be companies that are in person and there's going to be companies that are remote. And everyone's going to win in some way or another. It's not going to be one wins and the other loses. It's going to be everyone wins. It depends on the type of person.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I have the honor of introducing a phenomenal guest to the show, Andrew Swiler. Now, he is the CEO of Lanteria, a leading business productivity software company out in Seattle. Now, he is a strategic entrepreneur and an astute investor. His robust leadership and keen understanding of global business trends have been fundamental in driving Lanteria's expansion and success in the HR software space. Now, being an entrepreneur himself, he knows what it takes to grind. He knows what it takes to be successful. So I'm really honored to have him on because we're going to dive into all of that, including the HR software. So Andrew, with no further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Leonidas. It's nice to meet you, and it's great to be here. I'm excited to learn some better morning routines for myself. So it was exciting for me to meet you.
Yes, you are at the right place, and so am I, because I'm looking forward to learning, and our audience looking to learn from you as well. We love a hero's journey. Now, you are in the HR space, but in the software aspect of it. So tell us how you kind of landed there. What were you doing to get you here?
Yeah, so my journey to HR is not a typical journey into HR. So I've been an entrepreneur for like 12 years. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I started a company. I actually live in Barcelona. So when I moved to Barcelona, my wife's from here. I didn't speak the language, and there was really nothing else for me to do besides start a company because nobody could possibly hire me because I couldn't even speak the local language. So I started an e-commerce company, which absolutely failed like in 6 months. It was a total disaster. And then at the same time, my wife was starting an eyewear company, and she needed help, fundraising, finding people to invest, some of the things in marketing. She was a designer, and she designed like a new she invented a pair of eyewear. And I joined her, and it was supposed to be like, I was like, I'll work for like 6 months and I'll help her kind of get this up and going. And 6 years later, I was still in the company, and we ended up selling the company to one of our partners. And this was right before the pandemic. And I was kind of in this position like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, I didn't want to go back to like e-commerce. I knew I had worked in software earlier in my career, and I thought like, okay, how do I get into software? But I felt too stressed to like do this journey of like from zero, starting over and like come up with an idea, find the problem, do the stuff. And I'd known about the world of search funds, which is this world of it's basically mini private equity. So like people, they find a business to buy, they find investors, they bring in debt, and they acquire usually a small business. Typically, it's done in like more Main Street type of businesses, HVAC service companies, porta potty rentals, things like that. Yeah. But software is not the typical place. And I spent a couple of years searching and finally found this business, Lanteria. The owners were from Ukraine. They needed to sell because of the issues, obviously, with the war. And I was able to negotiate a good deal and bring in a few investors that I knew, and basically cold called the rest of the investors and spent months like walking up and down, calling people on the phone, trying to get banks to lend to us, trying to get people to invest. And we finally closed the deal about 18 months ago. And I've been running Lanteria ever since.
That is an interesting route to it. So buying the company outright and then going out to find investors to make sure that you can actually acquire it and getting the bank loans. Tell us about that process, because I don't think I've heard this before. Come on, the process. So now you able to, because you can rent and repeat for other companies later on in your journey.
Yeah, I mean it is a little bit unconventional. So the people
Yeah.
normally the people I know they will go out to like a typical search fund is you'll go out and find investors that pay you to search for a business. So like you get a salary from investors. And normally the people I know that do this, they will go out and they'll be talking to investors constantly, saying, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking for a business. But for me, it seemed really dumb. I was like, if I call an investor and be like, hey, I'm just a guy looking for a software company to buy, would you be interested in investing in that? Like if I was an investor, I'd be like, depends. I mean, give me a call when you find the business. I'll analyze the
Yeah.
business because, a normal
It'll take
startup
longer.
in yeah, a normal investor, what they invest in the people. But when you're investing in a person that's buying a company, you're investing in the person, but also in the company that they're buying because it has a history.
Yep.
And so it really just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But in retrospect, I should have probably been out there like talking to investors, kind of keeping them more updated, keeping them in the loop, building up more of like a newsletter type of thing, which is what I'm trying to do now. I mean, I've been more active. Our current investors, I do monthly updates to them. I constantly communicating, trying to build like a relationship with them and trying to get them to help me, build a relationship with other investors that might be
Mm-hmm.
able to put money in for future deals. So it is, I mean, it is about building up a network and doing this and building up like a reputation. So that's a lot of the work that I end up doing is sort of building up the reputation for customers, but also building it up for, investors, stakeholders, potential investors. So it's a pretty big juggling act, but I think I could have done a better job early on in doing this. But like I said, it just felt kind of strange doing it
Yeah.
that way.
The part of learning. So you're seeing two pieces of it. You're seeing the investment piece of it and how to get the build a relationship with the investors. But now you also are running this company now, right? So tell us about Lentera, because I imagine it's almost like a turnkey operation. You get the employees, right? You get the CEOs. You can change the top management as you see fit, but it should be operational when you jump in so that business can continue.
Yeah, I mean, we took over. I mean, the previous owners were the CEO and the CTO, so they sold the company and they stepped out. I mean, that was part of the agreement is they would stick around for I think it was 3 months, and then I would take over. And we ended up hiring a new CTO, a guy in the U.S. Named Chris. But it was not a normal sort of deal. I mean, like I said, they were from Ukraine. Most of the team was from Ukraine, and we bought this company right after the war started. So like 3 months after the war had started,
Mhm.
we acquired the company. And about, I would say in December of last year, so about 6 months after we'd acquired the company, people started disappearing. Their
Oh,
electricity would go out. They would be moving from one side of the country to the other. There was all sorts of things going on. And so we had to make some pretty tough decisions to diversify the team. So, there were some people that we got rid of. There was actually one guy that he reached out to me in December of last year. He calls me and he says, hey, I'm going to be gone for about a month. I'm going to move. I'm leaving Ukraine. I'm going to cross the border by foot. And I need $10,000. And I was like, so you want me to front you 2 months of your salary? And he was like, yeah. And he had already kind of been disappearing and not performing well. And I said to him, listen, I'm going to give you $10,000, but this is your like severance package. Like we don't need you to continue working here. You start your new life, get over the border, do what you have to do. But I'm like, I don't know how long this transition period is going to be going on for you, but it's not worth it for us and it's not working for us. So we had a lot of situations like that aren't like a normal, like, hey, we acquired this company and now we're just trying to, build up a new culture and a
yeah.
new life for this company. It's like there's a lot of difficulties, and especially because we have some team members still in Ukraine, and they're very important to the business. Like they have critical knowledge. They help make the business run well, but at the same time, you ask like for New Year's, I asked our team. I said like, hey, what did everyone do for New Year's? Did anyone stay up past midnight? How was it? Like
Mhm.
trying to be, and like the first person responded like there were bombings here,
Oh
and
boy.
nobody responded after that. It's like so there's, yeah, there's certain things that it makes it hard to team build, makes it hard to get to that next level. But we're in the process of fundraising because, we're trying to we've been adding people in the US and Canada and India. So we're trying to add more people in. And as you add more people, we've noticed, things do bubble up, and it makes it a little bit easier. Where it's not like a Ukrainian company with just some Americans hanging out in the background. It's like, we're more of now we're a global, remote first company, basically.
Yeah. And so tell us about the business, the Lanteria. How is it? How do you get customers, and how do you serve the customers you already have? And is it just in Switzerland? Are you out in Ukraine, or are you in the US as well? Because I imagine
No,
with software,
we're
kind of
mostly
everywhere.
US.
Yeah.
We're a US based company. I mean, we're US C Corp. Most of our customers are in North America. We have a very good partner in Australia. And so we do have most of our customers in North America and Australia. I mean, we target Microsoft customers. So our product is built on Microsoft technology. So we target Microsoft customers, which are mostly like mid-market type of businesses. So we sell to companies that have 200 to 5,000 employees, more or less.
Yeah.
And, we're in a pretty competitive market. We compete with like Workday. I don't know if you're familiar with Workday, or companies like HiBob, Bamboo HR. They're big multi-billion dollar companies. So we're competing with them, and we have a pocket knife going against their bazooka that they're firing all over the internet. And we focus a lot on SEO, focus a lot on bringing good content for HR. We do an interesting thing now. So we have a podcast, but what we do is we do basically cold outreach to potential clients. But instead of asking them to come and do a demo with us, or ask typical questions about what is your software you're using, how do you like it, do you not like it, we just say like, hey, we read this LinkedIn post from you and we thought it was super interesting, and we'd love to have you on our podcast to talk about it. And people come on, and it so far it hasn't resulted in a sale from them directly, but they posted on LinkedIn, they posted on Twitter. It gets us out there. So it's an interesting sales tactic that I think might draw fruit, but at least it gets us content with, real authentic people, and, solves the problem of getting, potential leads to answer your emails, which is in 2024 is not an easy task right now
I know. Used to be easier.
Yeah, it was a lot easier about 10 years ago. Now, I mean, you're inundated with crap in your inbox that you don't want to read and you don't open because it all looks terrible. But it's a competitive market. It's hard.
Yeah. For Lanteria, now the end client, how are they using, say, we have a company of 200 or more, you say 200 to 5,000. How are they using your software to streamline the HR process?
So, I mean, HR used to be it's like a document. It's a lot about compliance in HR. But the thing is, what HR people get into HR because they want to like help their empathy. They like the people in the company. They want to help coach them. They want to help people perform better. And so the cool thing about our type of software is it allows them to sort of focus on that performance part of a business rather than all the compliance and all the document gathering and all the other stuff. It's like, okay, you're an employee, you have this portal. If you want your pay stubs, if you want your contract information, if you want your absences, if you want your performance management documents, it's all right here. So you don't need to email me and then I have to look for it and then I have to, send it to you. It's all inside the portal. You can find it there. So that's like one sort of example there. And then the other part is in the performance management part. So in a lot of companies, it kind of gets broken down by like a certain manager does things a certain way, or a certain department does things a certain way. But the HR team and like the CEO or the high level management, they want some sort of continuity across different departments and different management. They want the same questions to be asked. They want to understand, how they're judging performance across different departments. And our type of software allows it so they can sort of have this homogenous way of overseeing the process of sort of managing the performance of their team, seeing how people are progressing, seeing that managers are doing one-on-one meetings and they're doing 360 reviews. So you have this sort of centralized view that management and HR can see and can also sort of impact, where a lot of companies that don't use software like ours, or it's on Excel, Bob in this department just kind of does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And there's no way of knowing what he's actually doing because he doesn't fill out this sheet. He doesn't do that. And with our software, it makes it so like you basically get bothered constantly if you don't follow the right steps. And the HR department sort of sets it up that way. So it's, hire to retire. And then we also have a lot of learning management, training inside of the product that people can, use to set up for onboarding, for, continuous education, and everything runs through there. And, people have their licensing, people have everything ready for them. So it's a, full suite of HR software.
It's madness without your software, right?
Yeah.
The documents everywhere, Bob not filling anything out. But it goes back to this when you are inundated with a lot of emails, a lot of documents that we don't have time. It takes away from the actual work. These processes not being effective.
Yeah. It takes away from the passion of the work, like why you started doing this. Nobody gets into any job to shift paper from one end of the internet to the other. Like nobody wants to do that.
But it's necessary, a necessary evil, just like clinical, just like doctors in psychology. We are in there to see the patients, but we have to do these reports. We have to do the paperwork, whether it's for insurance, compliance, HIPAA, like it all has to be done. It's a necessary evil, but when it takes away from the actual work, the passion, as you say, it becomes a nightmare. How can organizations effectively harness software as a software company? How can we use those tools to enhance or supercharge the capacity, what the company is actually capable of, right? The potential is there. Walk us through some things.
I mean, the key thing is really in documents and in the process of, if you think back on, I mean, you're a doctor, you think back on all the documents that were kept in paper form inside of a company, all those filing cabinets, all those things that, 15 years ago, if somebody wanted to see their, certain performance management reports, or they wanted to see their absences, they would have to call HR, and HR would have to bring those documents, look through everything. Now what this does is it digitizes everything. I mean, there still are certain necessities for wet signatures and things like that, but like we integrate DocuSign, for example. So what our product can do is if you're in the process of like recruiting a new person to join your team, we have an applicant tracking system. You can run your whole applicant tracking through there. You can use things like predictive index inside of our product, and all that information from that new candidate, if they get hired, which you can do with a click of a button, all of a sudden gets moved into current employee. You put which department they're in. If you've automated this, it sets up their whole onboarding process. Their onboarding process you can follow, make sure they accomplish it, make sure they go through all the tests and the tasks, and then they're able to tell you when they're going to be out of the office, when they're going to be in the office. They can track even if you do work with outside clients with our type of software, you can also track the client work that's being done and be able to invoice clients directly from our platform. So there's just tons of things that would be either done in a bunch of different point solutions or in paper that slow companies down, just suck the life out of people. Like they just make people not enjoy what they're doing. Where in this way, it's all just running in the background. If Mary wants this report, she just goes into her portal, she can see it. Or if the HR department wants this report, they go into Mary's portal, they can see everything she's doing, everything that's going on. And there's not those interactions, those breaks, those interruptions that happen throughout the day that HR needs something, and before people are like, oh no, HR's asking me for this, and now it's already in there. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to interact with anyone.
Yeah, and as a productivity tool, I can see how that is very important for you as a key benefit for your company, because the minute you shift your attention from one task, they say it takes like 20 minutes to 30 minutes to get back on the groove again, to get in the flow of that. So imagine being disrupted every 20 minutes. You only work.
Oh yeah.
I'm
an entrepreneur. I'm constantly disrupting myself even. And so I always want to find things that can just keep me inside these 13 inches of screen that's in front of me.
Yeah, because it takes longer to just get back to what you were doing, to get back in the creativity mode of it. You mentioned earlier about the challenges of working globally with individuals and employees and having to offshore letting some people go and bringing some new people on board, like you're fundraising right now to bring on a whole new team. How can that be done effectively on a global context, right? Because you are both, you're in the US and overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I think people ask me like, what's sort of the secret? Like, I've been doing remote work for 10 years, I think 12 years. It's a lot easier now than it was 10 years ago because there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more tools. There's a lot more people are way more adapted to it. I mean, one of the key things is just over communication. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't go dark, you can't go radio silent, you can't assume that your boss knows what you're doing or that your employees know what you're thinking. You always have to be communicating it. So, like, for example, we have a new marketing director, and she does this great thing where every Friday she sends me what she calls her 5:15 report, which she
Mm-hmm.
sends me at 5:15, but it takes her 15 minutes to make it and it takes me 5 minutes to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So she puts together this report. I don't know if this is like a thing or she created this, but if she created it herself, I'm impressed by her creativity with it. But it just runs through like everything she did this week, the wins, the losses, the difficulties she had, and allows me to sort of know like what's going on in a high level. And it's such a cool thing that I think every organization should have. But unfortunately, what people ask me is the only way to get people like that is to find people that have like agency and people that want to work and respect that type of environment. Because
Yeah.
there are people that they go to work to build relationships and make friends, and that's totally fine. But those people won't work in a remote company, which is why I think, there is no absolute like remote work is the future and that's the only way
Right.
companies are going to work. And I think there are going to be companies that are in person and there's going to be companies that are remote.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to win in some way or another. It's not going to be one wins and the other loses. It's going to be everyone wins. It depends on the type of person, and you got to hire based on, what type of company you are.
Yeah, I agree. That is well said because it's gonna. That's why I think we're doing this hybrid thing, kind of figuring it out, testing it out to see
Yeah.
what works. Here in the state, it really varies, but you gotta really feel for the people because there are different motivators. You're right. It could be
Yeah.
monetary, it could be friends, socializing, whatever it may be. You have to be able to meet that need for them to stay. You don't have to because the
Yeah.
hiring process is costly.
Yeah. The
And
hiring
well,
process is costly and you got to find the right people and know what they're interested in. For me, if I hear people they like to spend time with their family, they like to spend time with their friends, they like to own their own time. For me,
yeah,
that's a key remote work kind of person. Like if you don't want to sit in an office from 8 to 5, that's normal. Like you want to do something different and you want your time, you want to own it. And that's a remote work kind of person because they might like me. I work at 2 a.m. sometimes because
right.
it just
Different time
strikes
zone.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you find some creativity like, oh man, I just thought of this and I really want to work on it right now. And then at 10 o'clock, I might go for a run.
Yeah.
So you never
Yeah.
know.
That autonomy is nice. And I think a lot of people are looking for it more and more. Freedom is like, and a lot of people are looking for more freedom
Yeah.
of their time and spend it with who they want. So, with that said, let's talk about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? I know you mentioned it's a little shaky, but let's talk about the things that kind of prime you to get the day going. 'Cause working out, going for a run is a one good aspect. So, let's dive in.
I'm not going to pretend that I like do cold plunges and go for a run in the morning and like get myself rocking and rolling. I've been lucky. I wake up pretty quick. Like I wake up and I'm ready to go. Like I'm not I can be a night person. I can be a morning person. Like I
Yeah.
don't wake up and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. It's like I wake up and I'm like, all right, ready to go. I have two little kids
Mm-hmm.
and like they're 6 and 7. So I spent a lot of years with like these unpredictable mornings because you have a morning where my daughter might wake me up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
and then you're like playing with puzzles for two
Yep.
hours before you even
Yep.
get to do anything. So it kind of threw off any sort of morning routine. What I would like to do is I have a pool in my building outside. So in the summer, I'd like to start swimming in the morning where I'd wake
Mm-hmm.
up, go down there, go for a swim. Now I do it at night. So I'd like to shift that and do it more in the
Mm-hmm.
mornings. But my morning routine is now it's more, I usually wake up at between 6:30 and 7, make a cup of coffee. I try not to look at any screen or anything,
Yeah.
at least for like a half hour. I usually write down like what I'm going to do that day. And then I pray that nobody else in my family wakes up. So I at least get like 30 minutes to like do something.
Yeah.
And, answer any emails that came in throughout the night, make sure I get like sort of like dumb work done in that like 30 minutes. And then usually my kids wake up, I make them breakfast for school, get them dressed, and then I take them to school every day. So that's usually my morning routine. So I usually start work at like 9:30 once they're in school.
Yeah, you have a good one. You have the foundation for sure. I have a 14-month-old, and I understand the chaotic because I try to meditate before she wakes up, and then she decides to wake up the minute I turn on meditation. And then I got to read her a story. I got to feed her, and it's all beyond me.
Yeah,
So,
you can't plan anything with little kids. Like you're like, yeah, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna do 50 push-ups, and then like you're 5 in, and somebody wakes up, and you're like, what's the point? Like, why did I even get started?
So yeah, any non-negotiables for you? Like meditation is non-negotiable for me. I do work out every day at 9 a.m. That's after I drop her up to school. So working out is a big key. Like you changing that to the morning is very monumental because the energy level is going to carry you throughout the day. And you're going to feel good. You're going to be more at your optimum because when you wake up, you feel pretty good. That's because we're at our best. It's the best time to do anything productive, especially that's related to self-care. Because it transcends with our family, our business, our partners. It transcends all throughout the day, which is magical once you start doing that. For me, non-negotiable is meditation. 15 minutes of it. If I have to get up at 5:30 to do it before she gets up at 6, that's one thing that I do. But let's talk about any non-negotiables for you that you find.
My only non-negotiables, I take my kids to school. Like I like that quick little bit of time that we get to spend together. Mm-hmm. I want to make some non-negotiables. Like I just said, like I'd like to do at least 3 days a week, go down, swim for 30 minutes. Yeah. I would like to meditate. I find when I meditate, I have meditated in the morning. I find when I meditate in the morning, I'm too groggy compared to like when I do it in the middle of the day. I like it as more of like a break.
Yeah.
It does
recharge you.
Like something to do.
It does recharge you midday. Yeah.
For me, the morning, it's like I just woke up and it's like almost like going back to sleep in a certain way for me. So I can't handle that. But I don't, for me, the only non-negotiable is a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm not, like I said, I don't have like a high energy sort of morning. It's more of like, I like to have a cup of coffee, kind of stand there, I look out the window, just look at like, we have some palm trees outside and I like look at the palm trees. It's like, it's not bad. Watch the sun come up.
Get some sunlight. The beauty with the pieces of the morning routine is they do have their own benefits and it could be tailored to you. So it doesn't have to be a specific time. And so as long as you're getting them in, your workout's getting in, your meditation's getting in, because we really do need to do that work to show up for our business, right? We just can't show up and throw a dot and hope it sticks. Like we really have to do the work.
Yeah. No, when I go through periods where I don't do things like that, I am way more chaotic. Like my brain is all over the place, and it's just like I'm just like running throughout the day, and then all of a sudden the day's over, and you're like, what happened? Like what?
Yep. Crazy how that works.
It is crazy.
Andrew, thank you for sharing with us. Tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Andrew Swiler, Swiler. Or on Twitter, my handle is Swiler, Swilera. Those are really the only places. I don't really exist on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. So you can find me on one of those two, basically.
And then Lanteria.com for the...
Lanteria, Lanteria.com. You can find us there. Feel free to take a look. If you have a company that's in the market for HR software, give us a call.
Fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.